Success is living a life that doesn't necessitate vacation. The best training program is one that you don't need to recover from. When I'm uncomfortable, I know I'm about to be at my best. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Strength Connection. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Michael Kurkowski. All right, it's you and me today. This is a solo episode. I'm going to dive into some fun stuff here. Let's get rolling. So, all right, before we get into today's episode, just going to recap this past week on the podcast, as well as the future of what is coming up next week. Okay. So this past week, the episode I got a chance to connect with Tim Anderson. I think I've mentioned Tim numerous times over the past couple of weeks, and I've been really excited to release this episode because we talk all about his new book, Be Naked. Tim is one of those guys who, this podcast is called The Strength Connection. I want to talk about the physical, the mental, the spiritual sides, aligning all of these together, to live our strongest selves. Tim is really the embodiment of that. He does that in his own way, in his own right, after creating such great programs like Original Strength and Pressing Reset. Now, this book, he really dove into the mental side, the spiritual side, and not only just the theory behind it, but really connecting it with physical movement. There's a lot of exercises at the end of this book that he does as far as connecting these thoughts of getting into the right mindset together. So it was just an absolute blast of a time with Tim. Anytime I get the chance to connect with Tim, I always leave that conversation with a big smile on my face and just feeling better throughout the day. So again, appreciate Tim coming out. That episode is out right now. And this book, Be Naked, is out too. Do yourself a favor, go and grab a copy of it. It's a short book. It's like less than 100 pages. It's something you can read in a weekend and you'll go back to over and over again to get insights. And it's all just good stuff that you can add into your own life and into your own journey. All right, and then coming up next week, I got a chance to talk with one of the most interesting women named Pamela Nygaard. And Pamela she's the CEO of a company called Genexy Health. And this was one of the most fascinating conversations that I've had because it's a topic I am so unfamiliar with. And that's the process of AI and artificial intelligence, also really getting into the medical health side of it. I focus so much on the strength side, the fitness, a lot of the prevention side of it, and the medical side, which is a lot of the reactive side of things. Pamela is one of those pioneers that is leading from the front in the new wave of where technology is going, and specifically in our own medical health. So Genexy Health, it's a medical AI company where the mission is really to centralize all the information that we need for our personal health into one place. I'll leave a lot of that information there. Please go and listen to that when it comes out this week, because just how Pamela started this company, how it started when she was 14 years old, just seeing her grandmother go through some really crazy stuff with her own health, and that whole journey, which started this whole mentality of her wanting to build something like this, and then going into the insurance realm with medicine, and then building Genexy. Not only her story and her insight of what she's doing, but what this company is going to be doing in the future, and where technology, medicine, everything is going that direction. She is one of the heads. She's one of the spearheads of it. So it was fascinating for me to learn about companies like this and about what's going on here. And it's something that I think all of us as just humans, just trying to be the healthiest we can, specifically too for coaches. This is going to be a new wave of the future that's going on that is going to be huge for consumer side. So please go check that out. And also, she has a special promotional code for all listeners to use if you want to participate and dive into Genexy as well. She's doing that as a bonus. So really appreciate Pamela for doing that. So check that out as it comes out. All right, so going into today, what I wanted to do is, there's so many great nuggets of information that have been, dropped over the past few months on the podcast. And I wanted to share some of the quotes, some of the insights over the past 2 months that have made me think deeply, and help me in my own strength. My kind of routine after recording a podcast episode with a guest is getting up out of this chair, moving, usually going for a walk, and just thinking about the conversation that we just had, some of the big phrases or some of the quotes that are dropped and how I can use them in my own life, and just why did I think that was so, big or so insightful at the moment. It just made me think a little bit deeper. And if I'm thinking about it deeply, then probably many of you, would think the same thing. So I want to just share some of the thoughts that I had. For the sake of time, I'm going to go over three today and go into them. Again, this is nothing that I have made conclusions about of stuff, but often it's just things that have made me think a little bit deeper and how I can apply that personally into my own life and how I can deliver it better for, for the audience as well. Right. So the first one's from Eric Malzone, and this is: success is living a life that doesn't necessitate vacation. So I first heard this from Eric a while ago when I first had him on the show over a year ago. And then he dropped this again in the last episode that we did 2 months ago. And when he said it again, I just jumped right back into the thought on it. And I was thinking deeply about it. I wrote about it a little bit. And there's so much talk about recovery now, specifically in health and fitness. And I think it's important. I think recovery is big. But in this quote, when he says it doesn't necessitate vacation, which means there's not a need for it, I think that's the vital piece about this. So I thought about it with physical training. And I remember when Brett Jones told me, we were talking about recovery once, and he said the best training program is one that you don't need to recover from. And I think he said too, like the best recovery method is having that training program that you don't need to recover from. So, it's such a vital piece to think over, because so often we're pushing ourselves in things so much that if you need that like deep recovery day, if you need all of these recovery methods, otherwise you feel like you're going to collapse, or you feel like you need that vacation because it's been so stressful in your life, then it might be better to not only take a longer or take a deeper vacation, but to look back at how is my day going, just the everyday type work, because vacation is a once in a while type thing, right? Maybe you get a couple of weeks during the year or maybe a month, but that means that there's another 11 months throughout the year of regular life. That's going to take up a lot more of the majority of how you live the everyday life. It's the same thing with our training programs, right? If you need to have a full day to recover every week because you're pushing so hard in your training program, then, maybe you might want to look at the other 6 days of what you're doing and then just build in some other recovery tools or adjust some things. And it's actually going to be, a lot more sustainable, a lot more enjoyable at the same time as well. So I think that's the thing that I got so much from this, is that when you're doing something that you enjoy, when it fits your purpose, when you're working hard at it and you don't feel the need to recover, like I think recovery is important. Like there's certain, things like, the cold therapy plunges of meditation, of relaxation, of massage. But I mean, a lot of these things that we can do as far as like sleeping every day, about, eliminating stress, going for walks, those things that you should do throughout the day. Yeah, you should get those in, but it shouldn't feel needed. That's why I love the analogy of the highway and strength when we're developing programs. It's because if you know your lanes well on the highway, then you know when to push faster. You know when you need to slow down a little bit. Okay. So it's not that you need this full, reset of a vacation. It's just, when to slow down, and when you can push a little bit more, but you're always moving forward in that analogy. So I love when Eric dropped this down, and he certainly, with all the work that he does in entrepreneurship, this is how he lives his life. And his story behind how he kind of came up with this phrase, I thought was so powerful. So I thought it was important to bring it up again. So again, thank you so much, Eric, for dropping this. Certainly something that I'm working on more in my own life. All right. So number 2 is from Dr. Nate Zinsser. And that's: when I'm uncomfortable, I know I'm about to be at my best. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but I did a short episode on this a little while ago when Nate came on the podcast about falling in love with your butterflies. Now, a little backstory too, if you didn't listen to the episode, Dr. Nate is a performance psychologist, 30-year plus veteran working at West Point Academy, working with new cadets that are coming into the academy in the military. He's also worked with some of the most high-achieving, high-performing athletes in the world. And his whole focus is about the term confidence. His book, The Confident Mind, is one of the best books I've read over the past year. I've recommended it to many people. I recommend it again. I got a chance to read this book and go over with him on the podcast. And this was a point that we talked about that I thought was so huge, because often when we're in that time when we're feeling really uncomfortable or we're really nervous about something, we think that something's wrong. And he brought up that the same thing in our body happens when we feel both nervous or excited. It's the same chemicals are released, the same stuff biologically is happening within our body. There's no difference. The only difference is the perspective that we have of what it means. And he used the example of Michael Johnson, the former gold medal sprinter, where he said when he was the first man ever, I believe, to win both the 200 and the 400 in the same race. And in the interview, he was talking about, were you nervous about this? It's the races were really close together. And he dropped this line. He's like, no, when I'm uncomfortable and I'm nervous, I know that's when I'm about to be at my best. So it's such an interesting thing of how powerful our perspective and our mind is that when these butterflies pop up and we feel uncomfortable in that moment, yeah, it could be like, if it's different or we're not used to that feeling, it could feel very nerve-wracking. But if you just think, oh, I'm about to be at my best, how quickly your mindset shifts in that is so powerful. And I've used this a lot in my training recently, as well as developing my business. When it starts to feel hard in training and I'm pushing, instead of thinking, oh, how much longer do I have in this session? I've shifted that to think, oh, like this is when I'm at my best. Not that many people are doing this right now. It's a small minority of people that are pushing hard right now. This is when I get to be at my best and I really get to grow. And it's really helped me a lot, specifically in building business. Building business is hard. Developing and growing things that we're trying to accomplish and achieve is hard. But that's what hard feels like. Okay. It's not something that's wrong. Oftentimes it's like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This is when I'm about to be at my best. It was really huge, just mindset shift that I felt when I talked with Dr. Nate Zinsser, and when he brought this up, thought it was so powerful. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think could definitely help out a lot of people. All right. And then the third and final one I'll dive into is from Dr. Amy Baker. And what she said is, our default state is healthy. So I'll say it again, our default state is healthy. This was a thinker for me. And we dove into more about it when I first listened to her on a mastermind call that I was a part of, and then had her on the podcast. And we were talking about this. And the narrative of our culture, specifically when it comes to our health, is always that something's wrong with us. We're sick, we're unwell, something's the matter with us. We need to go and fix what's going on. And what she said and what she stated is, rather than thinking that we need to find our health, we need to recognize that first, we are healthy. Our default state is actually to be a healthy person. And some things just get in our way. So I've talked about this numerous times before with people in different ways. Sifu Singh talked about the state of flow, and he said, flow is our natural state. We are in the way. When I talked with Adam Rodriguez about it, he talked about unveiling rather than creating. And then I heard this recently from Alex Hormozi, the creator of Gym Launch, where he recently said, it's better to work on why we're not doing the things versus what are the things to do. And so he said, we know what to do. It's often like, oh my God, I need to do this. I need to lose weight. I don't know how. It's like, yes, you do. You need to stop eating crap and you need to move more, but we need to focus on why we're not doing those things. And this has been a big focus I've written about a lot. I talk about a lot with my clients, is that focus of eliminating versus adding, about recovering before discovering. We focus so much on discovering what we need to add into our program, into our lives all the time, because we feel like we're lacking in something. If something's off or something's wrong, or we're not in the state that we want to be in, we feel like something's missing and we need to add in. When rather, more so in the cases, we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing, or we're getting in our own way, and we need to eliminate those. So it's more about eliminating the things that are preventing us from being where we want to be, rather than trying to add more stuff in because we feel like we're lacking. It's a very easy state to be in, of always thinking about point B, what can I add in, rather than actually looking inward of the things that are preventing us, because it's an uncomfortable state. Looking inward and realizing that you maybe are self-sabotaging yourself more because you're in poor patterns or you're in poor habits. It's not that we're unhealthy. It's not that we're in a bad state, where our default state is to be, a healthy person. It's just that we're misaligned. Dr. Amy Baker is one of the most fun people to have on the podcast. She's really looked so deeply inward with what she states, what she does, and it was a blast to talk with her on this. So those are the three I wanted to bring in. Hopefully those help. Hopefully it gave some insights, and I'll be delivering more of them next few weeks on the podcast. So I'll close this out with just sincerely, thank you so much for those of you listening, for being supportive of the podcast. It's my mission to grow this as much as we can while delivering great information, and I appreciate you listening. All right. Till next time, I will talk to you guys later. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some great value here. And if you like this episode, please drop a comment and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It does more to build the show than you can imagine. And do not forget to check out and join the Strength Connection Facebook group. In this group, I share the biggest takeaways and lessons from these amazing conversations, as well as training and strength tips for pursuing mastery and fulfillment in life. This group is filled with individuals looking to take full control over their strength, and it's the perfect space to explore new ideas and to share your journey. And you'll also get exclusive access to these Strength Connection Mastery Seminars. It's a deep dive into the physical, mental, and spiritual training that you can begin using immediately. So do not wait, go now. Seriously, go. All right, much love to you. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.